Rats will tell us lies, keep secrets, goons and spies. Keep Alberta rat-free, fumigate the ledge. Fumigate the ledge, fumigate the ledge. Keep Alberta rat-free, fumigate the ledge.
I am pleased and honored to participate in this rally. We need to come together as a people. Now is the time to change what is going on with our governments. And really, people have to vote. And your vote is your voice for change. So let's give a loud cheer for change in this province and right on to fumigate this building. Hi, hi.
50 years ago, we made a pledge as a nation that no Canadian would ever have to die because they can't afford health care. We made a pledge as a nation that no Canadian would ever have to not be able to receive health care because they can't afford it. And that's a pledge that we continue to fight for. That's a pledge that we continue to vote for in every single election because public policy is determined by whatever party is in power. In this austerity budget that we saw at Jim Prentice's table in March, what we're seeing is a misdirection, a wrong direction of where our healthcare needs to be. With $1 billion cut in our healthcare system, we're not going to see the level or efficiency of healthcare that we need to see. And this is something that we want to remind Albertans when they go and vote on May the 5th. This government's had over 43 years to make it work. They've had 43 years in which to implement policy, long-term solutions to long-term solutions to our healthcare problems. And now it's time that we call them to task. We have not seen clearly how this $1 billion cut is going to be instituted, what areas are going to be impacted, and we can't afford it anymore. What we can't afford is to see these cuts. It's the wrong direction in healthcare, and we need to take a stand. So on May the 5th, go and vote for the public good, which is universal health care, one of the most important services that any Albertan needs and deserves to have. Thank you so much.
When the Alberta budget was introduced in March, the government trumpeted the fact that Alberta's per capita spending on health care is among the highest in Canada. And that's what they wanted you to know. What they didn't want you to know was that they got that data from a Canadian health information report that also notes that the portion of healthcare spending that goes towards seniors care in Alberta on a per capita basis is 19% below the average of all the other jurisdictions in Canada. The underfunding of seniors' care has been going on for years. It inevitably leads to higher health care costs. The government tried to claim that its higher per capita expenditure cost was because of higher salaries in the public sector. That's nonsense. One of the principal causes is the underfunding of health care. Because when bad things happen in a care facility, the first thing they do is call an ambulance. And they take the senior to the ER, and then the senior spends several days in hospital trying to recover from the inadequate care that they have received in this province, in the whole continuing care system. A large part of the reason that system is failing is the result of privatization of services. It's happened in home care, it's happened in supportive and assisted living, it's even happened in long-term care. You know, when Ralph Klein was talking about the third way, we won the battle against the privatization of our hospitals. But since that time, this government, by stealth, has been privatizing the delivery of health care, and it has led to a total deterioration of those services for seniors.
When the budget was tabled on March 26, the government spoke about a cut to 3% to the non-teaching portion of a school board's budget. Little did you know that in that portion of the budget, the grants that support the most vulnerable students in our schools would be within that portion. We have 9 different grants that will be cutting by 3.1%, many of them supporting the most vulnerable students. We have children who enter into our education system at age 2.5. They are special needs children, and they are supported through a grant called PUF, which is being cut by 3.1%. First Nation Métis Inuit, cut 3.1%. English as a second language, also cut 3.1%. Social economic status, cut 3.1%. There are other grants that are also cut, including inclusive education, cut by 1.9%. Yes, this budget protects the frontline teachers, but it stops there.
So, while Jim Prentice was touring the province in early March before the provincial budget, and telling us all that we were facing a $7.5 billion shortfall, and that we needed to make the tough decisions because of that $7.5 billion shortfall, we at Parkland Institute released a piece of research that said if we were to return to the individual and corporate tax levels we had in this province before the year 2000, we would instantly generate an extra $6.4 billion in revenue this year. So that $7.5 billion hole that he needed to make tough decisions about would have been quite easy to fill. The challenge, though, is that when we talk about the pre-2000 level, our system before the year 2000 in Alberta was already screwed. We were already not paying enough for our public services and relying too deeply on oil and gas revenues. This is not rocket science. We know how this is supposed to work. We as Albertans identify the services we want and value, the ones you've heard about already, healthcare, education, the infrastructure we want, and then we pool our money and pay for it. Not rocket science. This is how it works. The problem is that we've had a government that's not interested in making these services work and seeing them paid for. We've got a government that's interested, as Noel said, in tearing these services apart and handing them over to their buddies. You saw 5 of them on the news yesterday encouraging you to vote for them. They want to hand these services over for their money so they can use them to make money. Folks, we've brought this conversation a long way in Alberta. We've reached a point where this election, for the first time in 30 years in Alberta, people are talking about taxes. People are talking about the need for us to pay our fair share to get the services we want. That's a huge win for us already. But if we push it just a little bit more, if we push the envelope just a little bit more, if we work hard over the next 4 days, we can actually turn it from having a conversation about fair and just taxation to actually having a government that'll make fair and just taxation possible. So, it's time to do it, folks. Let's wrap this rally up as quickly as possible. Bill, get out there on the doorsteps. Let's move from the conversation to actually making it a reality. A fair and just tax system is possible in this province. Thank you.
Poverty still sits in Canada and is knocking at your door. That person may seem strange when they asking for your change, but before you're quick to blame, hear their story, ask their name. The streets can be relentless and wash away the tears, so please don't let these voices go fall upon deaf ears. My voice, your voice, no blind eyes, this is our choice. Can't ignore their eyes cause the struggle is real. No shoes, no roof, no meal. My voice, your voice, no blind eyes, this is our choice. Can't ignore their eyes cause the struggle is real. No shoes, no roof, no meal. See, poverty, it sees no age, gender, color, or creed. Sometimes a little help is all you need to get on your feet. It's time for the restructure, social programs and a game plan. Put ourselves out in the rain, man. It ain't too late to save them. Some can only try to struggle to get by. Such a sad sight on a cold night, and it's a fight just to survive. The underlying issues tend to never be addressed, like the addictions, mental illness, past abuse, even stress. Determined cause and the effect, turn neglect into respect. Yes, we all bleed the same color red. Last time I checked, show compassion in these days. Stay united in our ways, equality, and being true to every single word and phrase. It could be me, could be you, but the bottom line is us. It's a must. We put the trust within ourselves with any luck. Now we're here to sing these words in the midst of voices heard. Let us demonstrate in hopes it resonates throughout the world. My voice, your voice, no blind eyes, this is our choice. Can't ignore their eyes cause the struggle is real. No shoes, no roof, no meal.
Thank you, sister. 25 years ago, Sister Sandra and I were on strike with Local 6, standing on these same steps. So 25 years on, that struggle continues, right, Sister Marge? Yeah. You know, it's windy out, and I know people said it's the cold Tory wind, but I believe it's the winds of change. And I do believe that history will be made next week. But let's face it, folks, those of us here and many, many around the province, unions and social action groups like PIA, Friends of Medicare and Parkland, have been making history for the last few years because we've stood up. We've shown how you stand up against the bully, the bullies that reside in this building, at least for now. And we've shown that you can stand up for what's right and you can win. Whether it was legislation such as Bill 46 that stripped AUP members of their bargaining rights, we won that one. Whether it's Bill 45, which came about as a result of the AUP wildcat strike at the jails, we got rid of that one. We stopped their attacks on workers' pension plans. We stopped the closure of Michener Centre. We showed that you can stand up and make a change. So sisters and brothers, that's the history that we have made through struggle. And I do believe that the history that we've made in the past, in the recent past, is going to build the path and provide the way for the history that's going to change next week, sisters and brothers. We've been part of that. So, but let's not forget, whatever the government looks like next week, our goals as progressive trade unionists and social action groups won't change. We still have the same goals and needs, and we have the ability and the capability to keep on struggling regardless of which government is in this house on Wednesday morning. Let's never forget that our strength is in that struggle, and we will continue until we win that struggle. Sisters and brothers,